In the interest of saving absolutely everybody's time, I feel like doing a generalized statement to all legacy media inside of the Matrix. And I'm doing it to save their time and mine, as well as protect the minds of the masculine youth for the future. I want to make it very clear that the legacy media, which I enjoyed the company of today, have made a massive mistake and missed a chance to do some genuinely interesting journalism. After being unfairly incarcerated in a Romanian dungeon, I thought that even the BBC, in its absolute arrogance and hubris, would be smart enough to come to me after 6 months, being the first interview I gave to the Matrix, and be smart enough to ask questions people were genuinely interested in. What's it like inside of a Romanian prison cell? How were you treated? Why was a person's liberty...
Yes, welcome back. 2 days ago, the BBC had an interview with Android Tate. I realized something. Android Tate seems not to be happy after this interview. The question he expected that the BBC would ask him, they didn't. He decided to publish this interview on Rumble to make people to actually see what happened, because they will edit out what exactly people are actually supposed to know by posting what they believe people should see. According to this article published by the BBC, Android Tate BBC interview influencer challenge on misogyny and other allegations. Andrew Tate has denied fueling a culture of misogyny and defended his reputation in a combative interview with the BBC. You see how they put this article? That is to clearly tell you exactly how they wanted this interview to be.
How were you treated? Why was a person's liberty deprived of them for 6 months without charge? How is your mental state post your unfair incarceration? Things people are genuinely interested in hearing. But instead, they came with the same old talking points. And I'd like to address all of these talking points to the Matrix media now to prevent this happening again, because it's a monumental waste of everybody's time. I say things on the internet. I've been making content on the internet for a very long time. Finding a clip from 2016, 8 years ago, finding a 4-hour-long podcast from 2016, ignoring all context, ignoring everything positive I say about men and women and the world, and taking a single sentence and trying to pretend that's my entire worldview is not the bombshell you think it is. Nobody cares. Everybody understands what satire is. Everybody understands what a joke is. Everybody understands it's the internet. Everybody understands all of these things.
Yes, when you listen to what he said here, these are actually basic questions that any journalist would ask. Even if you have a bulk of questions, at least pretend that you care. Yes, people really want to know what happened to him, because since then, nobody has actually known what has been happening with him in jail. Having an interview with him could have been an opportunity for people to actually know some of these things, but instead, when I watched all that video, I didn't see one. They came with questions, just targeting what his investigations is all about, without no single kind of word of encouragement to know how he feels about the whole situation. Then you call that an interview. There are certain kind of moments with the mainstream media, they need to actually, like change, modernize the way they do some of these things. Like he said here, that is an old way that they used to put things. When you even read through this article, you saw at the beginning, the way they put it, it was like a combating interview. Like some kind of challenging interview between the two, which is normal. They could have made it clear, like, oh, ask real questions, expect answers without always struggling to challenge.
Nobody cares I made a joke 8 years ago because everybody knows I was joking and everybody knows the truth of my message. So you're wasting absolutely everybody's time. Worse than wasting everybody's time, what you're genuinely doing is damaging the minds of young men. And I think I have a responsibility as one of the most influential men on the planet to protect the minds of young men and all of the men who look up to me. Nobody, no young man below the age of 30 has any interest in what the BBC or the legacy media say. They don't care and they don't watch it, unless I appear on there. So when I sit across from a reporter who says that having a nice car makes you a misogynist, it's disingenuous.
You
and
sell
also,
an image
also
of financial success
correct.
with a Bugatti and a cigar, but it comes with a side order of misogyny.
How does having a Bugatti and a cigar come with misogyny?
Because it's all mixed together in what you teach.
I find that to be extremely dangerous rhetoric. I find that to be extremist rhetoric. And I think it's very dangerous for young men to think if they work hard for something in their lives, if they dedicate themselves and they're diligent and hardworking and they try hard, that they'll be a bad person. I hate the idea of a world where a man who dedicates himself to excellence so he can enjoy the finer things in life is criticized and ostracized and called horrible names purely because he's been a hardworking male. And I don't like young men hearing these extremist ideas. And they're only going to hear these extremist ideas if they watch the BBC, which is an extremist organization. And they're only going to watch the BBC if I talk to the BBC. So I feel like now that these people have proved themselves to be extremist and very damaging to the minds of young men, I have an obligation to not interact with them very much because I don't want them spreading their extremist propaganda.
Yes, in as much Android Tate is a controversial person, I still believe there is one side of him that people should actually look out for. I understand we have different thought pertaining to him. There are people on this channel that they agree with what he says. There are some people they don't agree with him. But I still believe there should be that space we coexist. There are people I don't like what they say, but I still coexist with them, but with limitations. Okay, he said something here that if you have a car like the case of Bugatti and cigarette, you should not have that. You should not enjoy yourself after working extremely hard to have all these things. I don't really see this to be okay. The BBC could have not mentioned this. I really want to know your opinion pertaining to this video because I have seen different persons with different reactions pertaining to this. I think I will do a full analysis on this video so you can see what happened.